Isabel Marine tapped her stilettos against the marble floor of the Vista Royale's grand atrium and forced herself to look bored. Bored was the natural state of the trust fund heirs, influencers, and tech millionaires who paid 5 figures for a week on the most luxurious ship afloat. She had practiced their languid half shrugs in the mirror of her Florida motel room the night before boarding, repeating the cover story until the syllables tasted real. Bella Ortiz, Vintner's daughter from Napa, taking a well-earned break. Under the silk dress, hidden in the lining of her clutch, were 2 micro-recorders, a flash drive, and a folded sheet listing every rumor her paper had received about the Vista Royale's parent company. Unexplained disappearances of crew, doctored safety reports, whispers of forged medical claims, and bribes to inspectors. The editor wanted proof. Isabel wanted more than proof. She wanted the truth to sing off the front page so loudly that even the cruise line's slick lawyers couldn't drown it. She had been aboard for exactly 17 minutes when she felt the first tilt of the deck, the ship easing out of Miami's harbor, followed by a second jolt from her conscience. Stolen identity, hidden tech, possibility of felony trespass. None of that tingled half as much as the thrill of a brand new investigation. A steward in white gloves brought her a flute of champagne. She let the bubbles brush her lip, but didn't drink. Her phone, new, untraceable, buzzed with a pre-programmed alert. Remember seasickness? Right. If she planned to roam the restricted levels, she needed a credible excuse for turning up in odd corners, and complaining of nausea bought her that license. Out came the practiced frown and hand to the stomach. "Miss Ortiz?" a warm baritone asked. "You look a bit pale." She turned. The ship's doctor, she recognized him from the promotional brochure, stood at her elbow. Dr. Adrian Locke, British educated, mid-30s, all dark curls and freckled Irish skin, with eyes the green of sea glass. The brochure had not warned they'd be that green. "I'm fine," she said in a whisper she'd framed for vulnerable but brave. "Just not used to the motion." "Let's get you some meclizine tablets before dinner," Locke offered. "May I?" He gestured toward the glass of champagne, and she surrendered it. He set it on a passing waiter's tray, never breaking eye contact. "Staying hydrated helps more than alcohol. Walk with me?" This was earlier than she'd planned to tour the medical bay. But luck, she knew, rarely arrived on schedule. She looped her arm through his. The passageway to Deck 5 smelled of lemon disinfectant. Isabel noted the code panel beside the clinic's door, memorizing the digits as he punched them, 3711 enter, masking her observation by feigning dizziness. Inside, the waiting area glittered with sleek chrome and framed photos of exotic ports. "We like our guests to feel they're visiting a spa," he explained, pulling gloves from a dispenser. "Nice rebranding." She perched on an exam table. Medical cabinets lined one wall, each secured with digital locks. She spotted 2 marked Infusion Billing Files 2025 and Specimen Transfer. Odd. Dr. Locke cracked a bottle of water, handed it to her, then reached for a tablet. "Any medications? Allergies? Pregnancies?" He smiled at the last word, apparently amused by the corporate script. She shook her head. "No, on all counts." His fingertips paused on the touchscreen. "Bella," he said softly, "you look like you don't want to be here. Not the clinic. This." His hand swept to indicate the ship, the voyage, maybe the extravagant life entire. She tightened her throat. Letting a stranger read her was dangerous. Motion sickness. "I'll be fine." She accepted the 2 pills he offered, tucked one under her tongue for 10 seconds, then palmed it into her purse when he turned to log her visit. Deception number 4 of the day. She felt a small chill. He glanced over his shoulder. "I'll send a porter to your suite with ginger candies. Don't hesitate if you need anything, Miss Ortiz. Please, she said. Call me Bella. As she left the clinic, she examined the purloined pill. It was stamped E418. Standard. But why did the cabinets contain billing files? According to maritime law, all medical documents should be digital. Paper files were harder to audit. That night, the dinner menu offered lobster medallions and a truffled bisque whose aroma made her envy her fictionally seasick self. Her assigned table mates, a Swiss crypto investor and his Instagram-famous girlfriend, posed for photos while ignoring the food. Perfect cover. Isabel excused herself halfway through the main course, citing nausea, and headed for the engine room stairs she'd seen on the deck plan. The corridor to the lower holds thrummed with turbines. She wore flats now, hair in a humidity-tolerant bun. Sparkly gown swapped for black leggings she could sprint in. Past the laundry, she found the payroll office. Locked. Next, the supply inventory room. Unlocked. Fluorescent lights hummed over rows of plastic bins, filled with saline bags, IV lines, vials of antiemetics. She snapped photos, her pulse matching the drone of engines. A creak behind her. She pivoted. Adrian Locke blocked the doorway, hands in the pockets of his lab coat. No security guard, no angry officer. Just him. I thought seasick passengers remained in their cabins at night, he said. Doctor. Her voice stuck. She steadied it with anger. What are you doing here? He shrugged, stepping inside. Surgeons tend to know where their supplies are stored. You, on the other hand, seem to have misplaced yourself by 2 decks. Isabel weighed lies, discarded them, settled on a partial truth. I'm researching a piece. A piece? I'm a writer. Ah! He leaned against a crate of saline. I wondered about you. Her phone's camera app glinted in the dim light. He noticed. Instead of grabbing it, he reached into his coat and produced his own phone. Mind if I show you something? With 3 swipes, he displayed a spreadsheet. Names of passengers, diagnostic codes, procedure costs. Each of these bills the patient's insurer 10 times the standard rate. Procedures never performed. Isabel inhaled sharply. Why are you showing me this? Because, he said, voice low, I'm the one who compiled it. I've been gathering proof for months, waiting for someone who might know how to turn evidence into change. When I saw you snooping, I ran a quick background check. There is no Bella Ortiz holding a U.S. passport, but there is an Isabel Marine, Pulitzer finalist, last seen investigating corporate polluters in the Gulf. He pressed the phone into her palm. I'd hoped I was wrong. You're good at cover stories. Shock, then grudging admiration flooded her. You did all that in the last few hours? Wi-Fi on this ship is atrocious, he said. Took me nearly 4. He smiled. I thought we might help each other, Isabel. She pocketed his phone. Partnership with her subject broke 6 journalistic rules. Yet the data he'd risk sharing was gold. Why should I trust you? He rolled up his sleeve. A thin scar curved over his forearm. 2 years ago, I reported an unlicensed surgeon on another vessel in this fleet. Head office buried everything, reassigned me, threatened my license if I spoke again. I realized the system is rigged. I need outside leverage, your leverage. Something passed between them in that fluorescent hum. Recognition of the same stubborn wiring that kept them both awake nights. Isabel nodded. All right, but we do this my way. Over the next 2 days, they established a covert rhythm. She attended mixology classes, ping-pong tournaments, and shore excursions, gathering gossip while wearing a smile that said, nothing interests me but selfies. At midnight, she slipped into the clinic, where Adrian printed fraudulent invoices, outdated pharmaceuticals, and manifest anomalies, proof that corporate executives were using false medical claims to siphon insurance payments, then laundering the money through shell charities ostensibly providing ocean-wide relief. The more they uncovered, the more dangerous the corridors seemed. Twice, they caught steps behind them and ducked into linen closets, hearts racket drumming. Each close call stitched a thread of intimacy neither expected. Whispered jokes became lingering glances. An accidental brush of hands became deliberate. But secrets layered on secrets. Adrian wouldn't explain why he kept a locked case inside the drug fridge, and Isabel's articles about her career he could find online. Yet, she withheld the one fact none of her profiles revealed. Her brother had died when a budget cruise line ignored safety maintenance, her private engine for justice. On the third night, the Vista Royale anchored off Roatan. Passengers flooded the tenders for scuba trips. Isabel joined them, wearing reef-safe sunscreen and a water-sealed recorder. Her assignment: film the rumored dumping of medical waste 4 nautical miles north of the island, a practice the company allegedly hid behind falsified sterilization at shore logs. She chartered a local fisherman's skiff, paid him to circle the coordinates at dawn, and spotted, bobbing in the aquamarine ripples, 2 polyethylene drums marked with biohazard logos. She filmed until the GoPro battery died, lungs stinging from salt. Returning through crew access, she found the clinic door ajar. Inside, Adrian stood by the open fridge, the mysterious case on the counter. As she entered, he snapped it shut. "You're early," he said. "Environmental shots done." She peeled off her wetsuit. "What's in the case, Adrian?" His shoulders squared. "Nothing related to our investigation." "You told me full disclosure. That was about fraud." His voice was gentle but firm. "This is personal." "Personal secrets get people killed." She gestured at the hallway. "We're already being followed." The collar of his shirt wilted in the tropical air, yet he remained silent. "Fine," she said, turning toward the door. "I'll keep digging on my own." "Isabel," but she was into the corridor before he finished. Pride warred with fear. If he protected something illicit, her story, and perhaps her life, was at risk. She ducked into the passenger deck. As she rounded the corner past the casino, she spotted 2 uniformed security officers standing at her suite door. One held a tablet, the other gloves. Adrenaline surged. She pivoted, but a hand jammed between her shoulder blades. "Miss Ortiz," said a familiar voice. "Chief Purser Vargas. Ship's security would like a word." They escorted her, politely enough, to a small meeting room behind the purser's desk. On the table lay her clutch. Vargas unzipped it, tipped out the micro-recorders, pill, and flash drive. "Contraband," he pronounced. "Also," he added, flicking a dossier open, "we cannot verify your identity. The passport you presented at embarkation appears counterfeit." Isabel's pulse thundered. Her phone, with Adrian's files, remained hidden inside her suite safe. They hadn't found it yet. "I'm afraid," Vargas said in oily tones, "we must detain you until port authorities board in Cozumel, unless you explain yourself first." She considered blurting out the medical fraud, but the man in front of her likely received kickbacks from it. Instead, she requested a lawyer. That earned a laugh. "International waters," he reminded. The door opened. Adrian strode in, lab coat flaring. "She's my patient," he announced. "We have confidential matters to discuss. Release her." Vargas arched a brow. "Doctor, we respect health privacy. However, Section 113 of the Maritime Health Accord," Adrian interrupted. "Any act that obstructs treatment is a prosecutable offense. She requires isolation for potential norovirus exposure. I'm responsible." Vargas hesitated. Paperwork and pathogens scared even the corrupt. "Very well, but she remains under watch." Adrian took Isabel by the arm. "Nurse's station," he ordered the guard. They hustled her down and into the clinic. Once the door closed, Isabel broke free. Thanks, she said. But they're on to me. They're on to both of us, Adrian replied. He opened the locked case. Inside sat 3 passports and a stack of infant vaccine vials. I was smuggling medicine, he confessed, for refugees on a small quay off Belize. The company dumps waste there. Kids are getting sick. I've been ferrying supplies under the guise of shipboard inventory. The revelation crashed over her, sweeping away suspicion. That's why you couldn't tell me. Some of the crew helped me, he said, voice raw. If security learns, they'll fire everyone and blacklist the clinic that shipped the vaccines. She shook her head. God, we're a pair. They talked fast. The guard outside shuffled. They had minutes. Adrian proposed diverting security by staging a clinic drill, giving Isabel time to upload evidence to her paper before the ship reached Cozumel. She countered. They would broadcast live, impossible to delete. He smiled at her audacity. Let's do it. Adrian exited to summon the medical staff. Unscheduled lifeboat drill. Possible gastrointestinal outbreak. Klaxons howled. Passengers grumbled, assembling at muster stations. While chaos reigned, Isabel slipped to her suite, retrieved the phone and GoPro card, and climbed the service ladder to the bridge deck's unused observation room. Best satellite signal on board. Laptop open, hotspot connected. She began the upload. Spreadsheets, photos of forged invoices, medical waste barrels. Then she typed a headline. Cruise line cashes in on fake illnesses while poisoning Caribbean seas. She added a subtitle, Whistleblower Doctor Speaks Out. She looked up, half expecting Adrian to appear, but he was still running interference. Progress bar, 12%, 23%, 51%. Footsteps. She muted the laptop. Chief Purser Vargas swung in. We traced your login attempts, Miss Marine. She backed toward the observation window. Mind racing. The deck outside was 20 feet below. No escape. Vargas advanced, hand dipping into his jacket. Something metallic flashed. A roar of wind. The door behind him slammed open, and Adrian barreled through, ramming Vargas with a crash cart. The purser sprawled, gun clattering. Adrian kicked it away. The motion jarred his pocket. Passport spilled. Vargas groaned. Adrian knelt to secure him with defibrillator cables. Then he looked up at Isabel, panting. Upload? She checked. 87%. Almost. Sirens shifted tone. Security reinforcements. Adrian locked the door, braced a chair under the handle. When we reach port, they'll arrest me for assault. And me for espionage, she said. He touched her cheek. Worth it. 100%. File transmitted. Her editor's auto-reply flashed. Received, running front page. Adrian exhaled. In the distance, on passenger decks, arguments erupted, people resisting the drill, or perhaps reading breaking news on their phones. Time to show the world your face, she said. She opened her laptop camera. Adrian hesitated only a heartbeat, then nodded. In a live stream watched by thousands before the satellite link was cut, Isabel Marin introduced Dr. Adrian Locke, whistleblower. They detailed the fraud, the waste dumping, the threats. As they spoke, pounding shook the door, wood splintering. The feed froze on their determined faces. 3 hours later, Mexican authorities boarded. By then, every major outlet had mirrored the story. Deletion was impossible. Vargas was taken off in handcuffs, along with 2 executives flown in by helicopter to manage damage control, now suspects in international fraud. Isabel and Adrian were escorted separately. On the dock, flashes from reporters' cameras exploded like fireworks. A lawyer from her paper argued jurisdiction. Adrian's medical association sent counsel. Amid the frenzy, their eyes found each other. A smile, small but fierce, bridged the space between police lines. Weeks passed. The cruise line's stock crashed. Whistleblower hotlines lit up, and congressional hearings were scheduled. Isabel's article became a series, Then a movement. Donations poured into clinics across the Caribbean. She accepted them in her brother's name. One gray morning in New York, she emerged from federal court after giving testimony. Adrian leaned against a lamppost, trenchcoat collar flipped up, no longer shackled by company uniform. Charges against him had been dropped, his records cleared. A nonprofit was funding a floating clinic, and they wanted him in charge. He walked toward her, traffic humming. "I need a chief of communications," he said. "Someone daring, with impeccable research skills." She laughed, tucking hair behind her ear. "Cruise ship medicine isn't exactly my beat." "Think bigger," he said, offering his hand. "Whole ocean." She pretended to weigh the offer, eyes alight. "Full disclosure, from day one?" "Scout's honor," he said, though neither had been a scout. She took his hand. Their future, messy and uncertain, rolled out like open water, fraught with storms, but honest, and theirs to navigate together.